Hey guys, this week I'm coming to you with a twin story. Who doesn't love twins? And this one is twins, vaginal, unmedicated, 3.5 hours apart. I happen to have been their doula also. So Kelly and her partner Justin come on to talk all about their fertility journey, their loss, and then getting pregnant with twins, and what it was like to really fight and advocate for a vaginal, unmedicated twin delivery with hours apart between baby A and baby B. Is a really exciting and fun birth story. If you know someone who's pregnant with twins, will you share this episode with them? And then just a reminder, it was recorded live on Fireside, so there's no editing at all. If you are interested in watching me record some of the Birth Story podcast episodes live, then download the Fireside app, follow Birth Story podcast, and you can join the audience, and I can even bring you on stage. All right, let's get to it. What does a contraction feel like? How do I know if I'm in labor? And what does a day of labor look like? Wait, is this normal? Hey, I'm Heidi. My best friends call me Hides. I'm a certified birth doula, host of this podcast, and author of Birth Story, an interactive pregnancy guidebook. I have supported hundreds of women through their labor and deliveries, and I believe every one of them and you deserves a microphone and a stage. So here we are. Listen each week to get answers to these tough questions. Birth Story, where we talk about pregnancy, labor, deliveries, where we tell our stories and share our feelings. And of course, chat about our favorite baby products and motherhood. And because I'm passionate about birth outcomes, you will hear from some of the top experts in labor and delivery. Whether you are pregnant, trying desperately to get pregnant, or you just love a good birth story, I hope you will stick around and be part of this Birth Story family. Hey guys, before we get started, I just want to jump on and remind you about Birth Story Academy. And if you are listening in the window from December 1st, 2021 to February 1st, 2022, pre-sales are going on now for 50% off. So 50% off, it's $98. $98. You get a copy of the Birth Story podcast. You get downloadable digital birth affirmations. You get all the birth planning templates, and you get my 20 module course. Like, this is a great deal. My private doula clients pay over $3,000 for this. So for $98, jump into my private Facebook community. There's already about 100 people that have joined. And on February 1st, we're going to dive in when class begins. So it's an online childbirth course. You take it at your own pace. There's 20 modules. It's taught by me, a 17-year veteran birth doula with a less than 7% cesarean rate. And I am going to teach you everything that you need to know and every decision you need to make about your hospital birth so that you too have the best chance of having that low cesarean rate like all of my doula clients enjoy. So I hope I will see you in class. You just go to birthstory.com, click on Birth Story Academy, and use that code Birth Story Podcast for 50% off if you're in that window. Prices go up February 1st. Goodbye, WaitBot. Yay! I love the clapping. Okay, let's turn on our videos. Turn on video.
All right, let's see how I do this here.
Click on the little thing that looks like a flag in the bottom left with the yellow circle, and it'll just say turn on video.
Heidi, I'm technically challenged here. Let's see. Leave stage.
Let me see.
No.
Let me see if I can ask you. Invite to video mode. I just invited you.
Got it.
Perfect. That's easier. See? I'm learning Fireside too. Yeah. Hey, top knot headband.
I know.
How's it going?
Pretty good.
I'm so excited to have you on the Birth Story podcast, Kelly. Yay.
I'm excited to be here.
Okay. Well, for everyone that's listening later, this is an unedited live recording that we're starting on the Fireside app. So if anybody wants to download Fireside, I've been recording my interviews live on Fireside. It's an app that was created by Mark Cuban, and I was invited to be one of the early content creators. So I'm really excited. They make it easy for me too, Kelly, because we just record live and then we're done.
It's good. The easier, the better.
Yeah. So today we're talking about twins, vaginal, 3 hours such apart, and precipitous labor. So we're going to talk about your first birth with your son, Grayson, and then we're going to talk about getting pregnant with twins. And then we're going to talk about how to rock an effing vaginal delivery in a hospital with twins. You just have to have the right tools and education, right, Kelly?
And the right doula, yes.
And the right doula. Okay. So full disclosure, I was Kelly's doula. So we should start there. So I'm going to be inauthentically, I guess, asking you questions that I already know the answers to, creating a roadmap of storytelling for everyone listening, though. So Kelly, don't roll your eyes when I'm like, how did you know you were in labor? And a little bit. Okay. So Kelly, let's start at the very beginning. Let's tell us a little story about you and your love muffin, Justin, and how, your life came to be as a couple looking to have children.
Yeah. So, I'm 41. We live in Charlotte, North Carolina, and I met my husband in 2012, Justin, at a bar. It's not an exciting story, but so we went and got married in 2016. We lived in Charlotte, moved to New York City for a little bit, moved back to Charlotte. And after we got married in 2016, I think we waited 2.5-ish years and decided it was time to start trying for babies. He was ready to start right away. I needed more time. But when we started trying, we got pregnant the first time, and unfortunately had a miscarriage. And then it took about 9 months, nothing happened. So then we went and sought help, and we did fertility treatments. So we just had to do 2 IUIs. So we were pretty lucky from that perspective. And then I got pregnant with my first son, Grayson. I guess it was 2019, and he was born in May of 2019. Yeah.
Okay. Let's go back. So you
Okay.
spontaneously get pregnant.
Mhm.
First try.
First try.
How long did you carry for before you miscarried?
About 11-ish weeks.
Kelly, that's far.
Yeah. Yeah. It was one of the darkest and hardest things that I personally have been through. And I know a lot of women who unfortunately have experienced that as well, and if not even later. So it's a lot more common than people realize.
Is it on the table for me to ask you some questions about it?
Sure.
Okay. How did you find out?
That I was miscarrying.
Yeah.
I was at work actually, and started bleeding, and called the doctor, and they said just monitor, and if it gets heavy or um, thicker or anything like that, call us back. And that's exactly what happened. So it just progressively got worse, and they brought me in for an ultrasound, and I just went right from work. I was silly. I don't know. This was pre-COVID, so Justin could have come with me, but I was just like, no, I don't know. I'm just going to go straight to the doctor instead of going home and picking him up. And then, yeah, I went there and found out that there was no longer a heartbeat. So,
Was the gestational sac still inside of you?
yes, gestational sac was still there. So then we were scheduled for a D and C, I believe it is, the following day.
Okay, the following day.
Hmm.
Because did they give you the option to just keep kind of contracting and miscarrying on your own?
They did, and I chose not to go that route just from a mental standpoint. It was already I was already and it was so quick, it happened so fast, and I went to the doctor, they couldn't find a heartbeat, and then they sat me down to have that conversation, so it was kind of overwhelming, but I just decided to, mentally, that probably was not the best choice for me.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So a year later, you find yourself in a fertility clinic because you said you got
Yeah.
pregnant right away. You carried for 3
Mhm.
months, you miscarried, and then tried for 9 more months with no pregnancies.
Mhm. Nothing, yeah, and I was like crazy psycho, and you know me, Heidi. I mean, I had like notebooks and I was charting things and taking tests every morning, multiple times a day. Justin and I were both traveling for work, and I would make him meet me. I think there was one instance where I made him meet me in Atlanta and switch his meetings so that we could be in the same hotel room. I mean, I was being crazy about it,
Get
but
it, girl.
I know, right? Nothing, it wasn't working. And there was no, like my cycles were just so out of whack. So I went to the doctor and they said, because of your age, just go ahead and go to a fertility clinic. So we were lucky that our insurance covered it, which is amazing. Justin has really good insurance through his company. So yeah, we went to a fertility clinic here that a lot of people go to, and had an amazing doctor, and we had a really good experience there. So
Okay. How old were you?
I was 37. Yeah,
Okay.
37.
So 37. So you roll up to the fertility clinic. Does Justin go with you?
The first time, yeah.
Yep. Is that Justin watching us right now?
I think so. I told him to join. Yeah.
Oh, awesome. Hey, Justin. We could bring him on the stage in a minute too if he wanted to. Do you think he wants to come on stage, or is he at work?
He will. Yeah, he's around. I think he has a little bit of just a limited time, but he said he could pop on if
Well, he's here, so I'm going to bring him on stage. I've never done this before. Let's see if he says yes. If you can't come on, Justin, just decline. So let's see. Speakers, Justin, invite. Let's see if Justin comes on or not. Let's see. Invite to video mode. Because I was just about to ask you this question about going into this fertility clinic with Justin. So, yeah. Justin, are you on? Can you hear us?
Oh, boom. There he is.
There he is. This is so cool. Hey, Justin, thanks for being on the podcast again. Justin was on the Daddy Boot Camp episode like 2 years ago.
I think
we're on mute.
Yeah.
Don't worry, Justin. It's just live TV. I'm just kidding. I don't know how to unmute him. Well, let's see. Justin, I think I can turn on your video, but I don't know how to turn on your volume. There's a little circle in the bottom left-hand corner with a yellow dot and 2 lines. Oh, and he just turned his video off, so maybe he's trying to do it. And then there's a microphone at the very bottom.
How's that? Can you hear me?
Boom, you're on. Okay, let me invite you. Let me invite you to video mode. Okay, here we go. We got Justin on. Yay. So, Justin, I was just asking Kelly. She was about to walk me into that fertility clinic after 9 months of trying after a miscarriage. And I was just asking her the question, did Justin go with you? So that's where we're at in this part of the story. So, Justin, were you there?
I was.
Yeah. Okay. So you guys said, Kelly, you said you did 2 IUIs.
But a couple times.
You went a couple times?
Yeah, we get the fun experience of going, a couple of hours before and sitting in that lovely, weird room by ourselves with the weird 1980s TV. It's a great experience.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I heard it's like a cattle call where they don't give you an appointment time and they just tell you to be there at 6 a.m. And it's like a whole bunch of couples who haven't brushed their teeth yet, just waiting to get in the front door.
And like for the blood work, because I was getting monitored every couple of days. Yeah. And there's like a line. I'm sure some of you probably know, but there's like a line into the parking lot. And it's like first come, first serve. And you just have to get up and jump out of bed and go get in line. So.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Yeah. So what did they determine at this fertility clinic that made you eligible for IUI?
Nothing. There was it was that unknown, I don't remember the medical term, what they put the insurance, but there was no known reason. Yes. Unexplained. Everything looked great, was working properly for both of us. I personally think my cycles were crazy. So I would just have, some cycles would be 45 days, some would be 65 days, some would be 30 days. And I would ovulate on day 19 and then 30 and then 45. So it was just hard to time. I mean, who knows? But yeah, they couldn't find anything. It was unexplained.
So probably on the first time, you just happened to have had sex on the right day at the right time and the right moment. And then for Grayson, we just had to facilitate, this meeting, Okay. So you said 2 IUIs. So did the first
Yep.
one fail?
Yeah, first one failed, and then the second one thankfully worked. So it was
Okay.
pretty painless all in all compared to, obviously what some women go through.
Okay. Justin, how would you describe your experience at the fertility clinic?
When I was with Kelly, it was great. I mean, the doctor was phenomenal. We loved him. But when I had to go by myself, it was weird. I don't know how to say it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
To deposit a sample.
Yeah, I was like, you're basically going there.
yeah, there's this bathroom you go into that they tried to deck out, but it's still a hospital bathroom. Let's be clear about that. And there's this 1980s material they give you, if you will, and you walk out and there's like all these moms and grandmas and future mothers sitting there and they're all looking at you like, I know what you just did. I'm like, oh God, get me out of here.
Oh no. I think I would need like AirPods and then like Kelly on FaceTime video or something like that. You know what I mean?
You know
like
what?
they should facilitate like some sort of like video chat to make that go like a little bit faster, easier.
Yeah. A
So
little help, if you will, Heidi.
yeah, just a little bit of help. Okay. So now I sort of remember like we said this worked via IUI the first time, but I remember specifically Justin saying like, well, we decided to have sex anyway.
We did.
So
And
like,
he swears up and down that this happened the old fashioned way because we did have sex right after. I think they told us to. I think they tell
The
you, I can't.
the night before and right
Yeah,
after.
the night before and then right after they tell you just to like do it all. So we did that following instructions. So he swears that his little swimmers got there on their own and they didn't need the turkey baster, but I don't know.
yeah.
I think I'm going to trust the process and assume that it was the IUI that worked.
And with this particular story, we're talking about just one just one Grayson, right? Like, so just, we're going to get into the double story in a minute. But like for this particular one, we get like one egg meets one sperm and, Grayson comes into being. So what I want to do, Kelly, is and Justin, whoever wants to talk, I kind of want to walk through, I want to skip through Grayson's pregnancy just for time's sake. And I want to just go into like a little bit of Grayson's birth. And then I want to do this all over again for getting pregnant with the twins. And then we're going to walk through that recipe for, a successful planning and preparing for successful vaginal birth with both twins. So, everything with Grayson's pregnancy, how did that go?
It was great. It was, I had a great pregnancy. It was easy. I was content. I was never really uncomfortable. This story will change in just a little bit, but no, it was wonderful. And I think at 37 weeks spontaneously, my water broke. 37 weeks on the dot. That morning, it broke over Memorial Day weekend. At like 10 a.m., Justin was golfing, and then things progressed quickly, as you know. So
yeah. So if anyone wants to hear Justin's version of the story, go back in the podcast and find like 2 years ago and find the Daddy Boot Camp episode. I'll also put it in the show notes too, because we've got Justin's whole amazing. I interviewed Justin on this birth story, so that's pretty good. So let's get Kelly's perspective today on the birth story of Grayson. So your water breaks. Where are you? What are you doing? Like, what's going on in your mind?
Yeah, so it was Memorial Day weekend and Justin was golfing and I was really tired that day. I had pretty high energy the whole time, but I just remember being really tired. So I laid in bed. It was about 10ish in the morning. And then I started feeling kind of weird. Something was going on. So I remember getting up on all fours on my bed and doing cat cow, like the yoga cat cow. And all of a sudden I hear this, I like something, I don't know if it was like I don't know if I heard the pop yet, but something felt weird. So I actually stood up and walked off my bed. And then there was this pop gush of water, like just a puddle. And I was like, all right, I guess we're having a baby today. And I think you were in Florida. And so I think I
Yep.
texted you and then Sarah.
Like a great doula at 37 weeks, I was at Disney World.
Well, we didn't know. We had no idea. But yeah, and I called the
Ah,
doctor, but yeah, it was funny because I knew something was up when I was laying in bed that morning and I was like, I don't think so. I'm only 37 weeks. This isn't going to happen yet. But yeah, as soon as I stood up, it was like out of a movie. And now I've learned that that's usually not the case. Sometimes it trickles and can last days, but it was pop and just a gush.
gosh.
Um,
And then I believe you lost your mucus plug shortly after that, if
I
memory
did.
serves.
I did. I sent you a picture over text
Yep.
message. So yeah.
Like, I think I got the series of like my water broke. My mucus plug just came out. Okay. Now, then what happened with Grayson? So, how did that labor
So
go? Because
yeah,
I wasn't there.
I know. No, well, the nurse triage said basically come in, and knowing what I had learned from you and your podcasts, I was like, I'm not ready to go in yet. We know we have some time. Things aren't progressing. So I did call Justin and tell him to come home immediately. And you can listen to that podcast because he was on the golf course and like running things over. I don't even know. But he got home and we had the bags packed, car ready to go. And then we were just kind of waiting. And it was funny. I just, in my mind, I thought I had hours and hours, possibly days. It was my first baby. I had never gone through it before. And I was just getting progressively more and more uncomfortable as the day went on. And we were like sitting there trying to watch a movie and I couldn't even sit on the couch. I had to keep moving. I had to get on the labor ball. I had to like really focus on my breathing. And I was like, this just doesn't seem right. Like, why am I in this much pain already? Because it was about,
I'm going to have to mute Justin.
I know he's causing a ruckus back there.
Oh, sorry.
I'm like, Justin, mute it. No, I'm just kidding. He's back. All right. He just had to get more comfortable.
Sorry.
Justin just had to get more comfortable. He's getting anxiety thinking about being on the golf course and having to like, we got him antsy and we got him moving. Okay. But Justin gets back.
Yeah. So we ended up, and now I'm backtracking. So we did go to the hospital about 1:30-ish and they checked. They said, yep, your water's broken. And they tried to admit us. And I remember talking to you. We said, no, we're going to go home and we want to labor at home as long as possible. So we just signed a form, told us what to keep an eye out for since we were leaving. And then we went back home. And then that's when things started to pick up quickly. And I was sitting there thinking like, why is this? We have hours, right? We have days. Like, what is going on? And I started timing my contractions and realizing that, this was getting more painful. Something wasn't right. I think I was in contact with you a couple times and I'll never forget. I had got you said, call me, and I called you and you were in Florida and I was leaning on the edge of the couch and a contraction was coming on and I was breathing through it. And whatever you heard at that moment, you said, Kelly, this like calm, serene voice, you need to hang up with me. I'm going to call Sarah and you need to go to the hospital right now. And I was like, okay. So we hung up the phone. And then as soon as we got in the car, it was like game on.
What I heard was like active labor, transition-y kind of labor.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't hearing like early labor, like my water just broke and I went into labor. I was hearing like, you need to get to the hospital because I think that your baby is coming soon and I need to get a doula to the hospital to meet you there to deliver your baby. So Justin, what were you thinking in that moment when you were like, when Kelly was like, the doula just told us go back to the hospital? You're like, we just left the hospital.
Yeah, a couple hours ago.
I guess that's when it became real for me, right? Because I mean, not to go too deep into like, our conversations and what I was thinking about a doula beforehand. I could hear something innate, and I like how you use the word primal because I think that's the best word to describe it. And I wasn't really using the vocabulary well enough to use the word primal until I heard you say it. So I heard Kelly making those sounds, and then I heard your confidence in go to the hospital, and then my, like we talked about in the podcast, my instincts kicked in, and it was okay. It's go time, and it was just let's rock.
Yep. It is go time. So you guys go to the hospital, walk in the front door, where'd you go? Go to triage, Kelly?
Yeah, we went, well, they had just seen us. And we had called no, maybe we didn't call. I don't remember. We parked our car and put the flashers on, and we never actually parked the car until after Grayson was born, because that's how fast everything happened. But so we went up, and I think they got us directly to a room. It was directly across from the desk where you check in, and it was like a madhouse. I just remember it was so frantic, and I remember thinking, I'm going to vomit everywhere. What is going on? Because I think this baby's coming. I had the urge to push, even walking from the car up to the station where we check in. And I think the room wasn't ready. And the nurses were kind of like, well, she was, I get the sense that they were like, she was just here. There's no way that she's actually in labor. And, yeah, I remember feeling like I'm going to throw up. I need to push this baby out, like, get a doctor in here now. Justin was like running around trying to get a doctor in. And then finally he came in and checked me and said, yep, you're ready to push. And it just happened so fast. Like I blinked and I feel like, yeah, I mean, it was 3 pushes later and he was born. So we went to the hospital at like 1:30, and I think he was born 5:30. And we had gone home in between, obviously. So it just,
so you went
really
at like
quickly.
1:30, went home, was like, talk to me. And I'm like, go back. And he was born at 5:30 p.m. So really, really, really fast. Now,
yeah.
My memory of that day is that I had sent another doula, Sarah, from Sage Mama Doula, who is your backup doula. And Sarah's texting me going, Heidi, they're not responding. And I was like, well, they're probably having a baby then if they're not responding. like they'll let you know when they have a baby. And I think Sarah was able to go up and see you after Grayson was born. But so no doula. So I'm going to transition this with like funny, not funny, but Justin comes on the podcast to tell his story. And he was like, buy one, get one free. And I was like, yeah, 100%. like no doula made it to your birth. Like for sure, you'll never pay for doula services again. Like, don't worry about it. Okay. So now I get this call later from Kelly telling me, well, I know Justin asked for buy one, get one, but what about buy one, get two when you guys found out you were pregnant with twins? Before we get too far ahead, though, do you want to talk about getting pregnant with the twins?
Yeah, so it was, it's crazy how life works. So Grayson was born happy, healthy. We had a great nursing experience, but I hadn't got my cycle back yet. And we knew that with my age, we kind of wanted to do it sooner than later. And what if it took another 1.5 years? So we decided. I stopped nursing him about 8 months, got my cycle back. I think I waited 1 cycle, and then we started trying again. We didn't do anything fancy. We kind of timed it. I was like sort of loosely tracking it, nothing like the first time around, thinking that we had some time. This might take a while. And on the 3rd month, lo and behold, in the middle of a pandemic, we got pregnant. And so it was surprising because it was so easy compared to the last time around. But yeah, we got that 8-week Oh, you know what was going on? I had actually reached out to the fertility clinic and said, I think we're going to start trying again if it doesn't happen in 6 months. So I reestablished myself as a patient, just in case we needed to kind of get back in there. And so I actually had messaged them and said, I got a positive test, and they brought me in for monitoring for the blood work the first couple of weeks, just to make sure that my HCG was going up. And then we got into my OB and they confirmed that I was in fact pregnant.
I love that you were so proactive. Like you said, like I reestablished like the fertility care, but like we were going for it ourselves because like, according to Justin, you guys did it the old fashioned way anyway with your 2 IUIs. So like here we go. I mean, this really kind of proves Justin's point though. So like before you ever get to all of that fertility stuff, you get pregnant just by having sex with each other, not going to do any of the fertility stuff. But how, like when and how, what, like, how did you find out you were pregnant with twins? Like, what is that? My mind cannot even wrap around what that is like. And then really quick, Justin, are you wanting to stay on with us for the whole time? I'd love for you to, if you want to, or do you want me to drop you?
Can I do another, say 20 minutes, 25 minutes? Is that okay?
Yeah. You stay on as long as you want and then say bye when you need to say bye. Cause I know we're recording.
Heidi,
on a week.
If you need me
day.
to go or you just want to make it YouTube, just say so. You're not going to hurt my feelings. I promise.
No, I don't need you to go. I just wanted to make sure because it is a work day. So I'm like, just let us know. So, but really, I mean, this moment, like, you know, I have so many twin clients. I'm like, my bestie had twins, like, but I still cannot wrap my brain around going and finding out I'm having twins. So like, how did that go down?
So it was May 27th. It was Grayson's first birthday, actually. And we kept him home from daycare. I know, because we were like, we're going to have this amazing day. We're going to like take him and do all these things. And I had a doctor's appointment that morning and I was so nervous. I was just really anxious from having had a miscarriage in the past. I just want to, I think it was the 8-week appointment. I think that's when I do it. So I was just anxious, hoping that, you know, we saw a heartbeat, that things were looking normal and progressing as they should. And so my appointment was that morning and I had expressed, I mean, the wonderful ultrasound tech, she could tell I was nervous. It was like, just relax. It's okay. You know, and she was lovely. And she did the ultrasound. She's like, see, nothing to worry about. But I was by myself because of COVID. So Justin was not allowed to go with me. So she was like, nothing to worry about. And thinking back, I think she did that just to calm my nerves because she could tell I was nervous. So she didn't tell me I had twins right away. She said, there's the baby, there's the heartbeat, everything looks great. Let's go ahead and FaceTime your husband now that we know everything's okay. And I was like, okay, great. Even though there's a big sign that says, you know, no recording.
So you're only seeing one. Like you're only seeing one. She's good. Yeah, okay.
I know. And looking back, I'll tell you the story, but I was like, did you know the whole time? In tears, she was like, yeah. Mm-hmm. But she was amazing. So we FaceTimed Justin a couple times and he didn't answer. He eventually did after the fact. So she's like, well, go ahead and just start recording because he'll want to see the ultrasound. So I said, okay, just thinking that, you know, she's just being really extra sweet to me. So I start recording on my phone and then she's like, well, I got something to show you. She's like, you know why you're so tired and you feel a little, you know, you're feeling all these things. And then she scanned over and Heidi, I was in shock. I was like, what? Oh my God. And I started hyperventilating. I was like, oh my God. She was like, just breathe. I mean, she was like, they both look healthy and normal. And she was like, I don't even remember what she was saying because I was just in complete and utter disbelief. I was like, I don't know how this happened. This is amazing. This is a miracle. And I'm grateful, but what in the hell just happened?
Yes. So fraternal or identical?
So they were die twins. So
die. Okay.
Mm-hmm. So that technically, I guess, is like a 70% chance that they're most die are fraternal, but I think it's like 70% chance they're fraternal. So it's 2 separate sacs, 2 separate placentas. I remember her telling me that moment. She's like, these are the best type of twins you can have. They're, you know, most likely the least complications because there's some, I guess, types of twins that have more complicated pregnancies. So, yep, two placentas, 2 sacs. We never did the blood test to confirm. We just kind of assumed they were fraternal. But yeah, not identical. Yeah,
not identical. Well, they started as die, and then they ended as mono die.
Yes.
So we'll talk about that at the end because that's really that was a learning for me. So I think that was really cool. So. Justin, let's loop Justin in. Justin, how the world did you find out you were having twins?
So, you know, it was in the middle of the pandemic, right? So May, it's hot and heavy. Because of my line of work, I was actually on the phone with the governor of Virginia and his team for their serology testing, like rolling out it to the state of Virginia. And she keeps FaceTiming me. And I'm like, oh, you know, and then I'm like, oh my God, is something wrong? Like, whoa. And finally I just said, Governor, hold on. I'll be back.
I love this. No big deal. Just pause, Governor. You know,
I clicked over and the screen is just up and the nurse is doing 2, I think. And I just.
He didn't, literally, he said nothing. He said nothing on that phone call. All I saw was the ceiling fan and I thought he passed out. I was like, are you alive? Like, did you pass out? What is going on? I guess he dropped the phone maybe.
I did.
Yeah.
Dropped the phone in disbelief. Like, oh my goodness. And, you know, like shed a tear or two. And finally, you know, said, Kelly, hurry up, get home. I can't wait to, you know, give you a hug, blah, blah. And I didn't even click back over. Just hung up the phone.
Wow. Walked out. In total shock.
Left them all on hold. Never came back to the phone call. Nothing. And I walked out and sat on the porch and put my hand on my head and went, "Oh my Lord, this is going to be something else."
Wow. And you didn't lose your job
Yeah.
for
No,
hanging up on the governor?
I did call him back, that afternoon and said, "Hey, I'm sorry. This is what happened. I apologize." And it was all good. He was understanding.
This is what happened. You have 2 new people to vote for you. That I've created. Oh my gosh, this is so fun. Okay, so Kelly, you've got to wrap your brain around this. I mean, I think pretty instantly you guys called me and were like,
Yeah.
can we cash in that buy one, get two for free? I was like 100%. Like, I'm at your beck and call. Like, let's do this. Just FYI, everyone, Justin and Kelly did not have to pay me, but for some ridiculous reason they did anyway, because they're generous, amazing, loving people.
You deserve every
let's
penny
be fair.
plus more.
What you did the day the twins were born and how you helped through everything. I mean, that paled in comparison to what we actually owe you. So let's be clear about that.
Well, let's get to it. So, well, first, I guess, Kelly, people are probably really interested in how your pregnancy went. So you had a 37-week gestation delivery. You have a history of precipitous birth. And now we're at risk for both of those things with twins. Like, did you know right away, like, I want to have a vaginal birth with twins?
I mean, that was my hope. I mean, I was open to anything and knew that we had to do what was best for the health of the babies. I know with Grayson, I lucked out because it was so fast, but I knew I wanted minimal to zero intervention if possible. And that's the same that I wanted for the twins. That was important to me based on a lot of the stuff that I had learned from you and your podcast. And, I was scared of a C-section, to be honest. And I was scared if we start doing one intervention and then the next would happen and the next would happen and I would end up with a C-section. So that was my goal, was a unmedicated vaginal delivery for the twins. I didn't know if it was possible, but that was my goal.
So what did that conversation look like with your providers, your health providers?
So I actually switched providers around 12 or 13 weeks based on a recommendation I got from you and from other folks, a more twin-friendly practice, if you will. And they also had midwives, and I was interested in having support from a midwife. So I switched practices, loved them. I cannot say enough good things about everybody there. They were amazing. But the provider that I was seeing, the midwives were on board with whatever, the one particular midwife that I saw was on board with whatever my wishes were. She encouraged me to do it. We talked about how that's possible and, a couple different things. The provider was also on board, and he was supportive, but I got more pushback from him saying, what if there's a breach, if baby B turns breech at the end and you don't have an epidural, we're going to have to go in there and get them. And it can be very painful. There was a little bit more pushback. Ultimately, he said, it's your decision. You can do what you want. I would highly encourage you to get the epidural. But ultimately it's your call. So supportive, but I mean, I remember texting you a couple of times after the appointment, like, am I crazy for thinking about like that I can do this? I mean, am I just insane for doing this? But I found a couple of Facebook groups and a lot of women had shared their stories. It said the breech extraction, it's quick. Yeah, it's painful, but so is childbirth, right? So it's like, it's 30 seconds and the baby's out and you're done. So the worst case scenario would have been having to go completely under if something went wrong without any, but then again, I think talking to you and reading, that's like in a true medical emergency, which would have been, more than likely unlikely. So yeah, they were supportive, but they let me decide.
Yeah. But we talked about pro con, risk benefit, intuition, the pros of being able to move your body versus the risk of baby B happening to flip breech and needing a 30-minute thing that you could breathe through, right? We had a lot of advocacy to do because we knew baby B, or at some point they wanted you in the operating room too, right? For maybe just baby A. So let's recap. We're going to be outlining recipe for success, okay? For vaginal twin birthing. Number 1, a supportive husband who's on board with what your body's desires are. Check. Okay. Number 2, a doula. You have to. Okay.
100%.
I don't know how you could do it without. I'm going to be honest. Like I don't know how you can have a vaginal twin birth without a doula. Okay.
It would not have happened. Like it would have not happened.
I don't see any. Yeah, that would be impossible. Literally.
Yeah.
I mean, so much advocacy, so hard, right? And then 3, what you heard Kelly say, we switched providers, right? Like I had to have that tough conversation to be like, our best chance at a vaginal twin birth is at this practice. And even at that, you hear all the pushback and advocacy that had to go on with what I would consider to be like the premier place for the highest chance of achieving that, right? So we're starting to get that recipe, right? We're advocating, you're joining these Facebook groups, you're educating yourself, you've got the right team in place. You're tiny, Kelly. How in the world did you carry twins?
I mean, I was pretty uncomfortable. I treated it like a freaking marathon though. And I mean, Justin thinks I was crazy, but I was like chiropractor, body worker, yoga. I was like trying to stay active. I was trying to do all these things. I mean, it was night and day compared to Grayson. I think at the end when my mucus plug started to fall out, you were basically like bed rest. Like you have to basically just keep your feet up. Gravity is a real thing. Like you got to slow down. And so I did for the last several weeks, but I think I gained like 40 pounds, but I mean, I was just uncomfortable towards the end. And I honestly don't know how I would have gone much longer than 35 weeks really. But
when did you lose your mucus plug? Because I remember like as a non-medical professional, like I put you on bed rest.
Yes. Yeah. You
like,
said yes.
I'm like, I know how you birth. I know how quickly you birth. I know how early you birth. Like, please get on bed rest. Please slow down.
Yeah. I think it was about 30 or 32. I can't remember exactly, but we went in and they said, obviously waters hadn't broken or anything. And that this could happen for weeks, months, even. It wasn't a big deal. And it wasn't like the first time around where like the whole darn thing fell out. It was just small pieces. So basically after that, I went on like a modified bed rest. Like I stopped walking or, I basically worked laying down in my bed for the last couple weeks. But yeah, I want to say like 30 to 32-ish, somewhere around there.
My notes say 32 was for mucus plug.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I remember also when we talk about bed rest, we think about, I also had talked to you about pelvic floor rest. So like not having, sorry, Justin, but like not having sex, like not exercising, like really kind of like keeping the pressure off of our pelvic floor. Did you adhere to that?
Yeah, that stopped a while before 32 weeks because I was so uncomfortable.
So big.
There was
hard.
no problem there. Yeah, no, we did. I mean, yeah, we took it. I took it. I was panicked. I was like, I just don't want these babies. Yeah, I want to keep them in as long as I can. So and I'm a rule follower. So I followed your instructions to a T.
Well, and there's a lot of prostaglandins in the seminal fluid. And so it's just, that can soften your cervix and, those are great for people that have one baby and are 41 weeks along. It's like not a great recipe at 32 weeks when you're losing your mucus plug. So we know everything's already softening and opening. Okay. So both babies are head down? Like how often are they checking you?
Yeah. So I was doing maternal fetal medicine basically towards the end, every other week. And then in between I had an OB appointment. So, and I had just started to do the fetal monitoring where you sit there for a while. I'm not sure what it's called. They were both head down. And so I was getting checked basically every week. And they had been head down. They had flipped. I think one had flipped. They were transverse at one point. But yeah, both head down, which helped our cause, obviously.
Yeah, it did. But you were, like you said, you had the recipe though. You were going to chiro, you were doing body work. Like you were literally doing everything that you could do to set yourself up for success. So Justin, at this point, what are you preparing for? Like, is this all about finances? Like bring me into like twin dad world. And did we know that assigned sex, like at this point?
Yeah. We did know the assigned sex. Yes. We found out at 18 weeks.
So you knew like, I'm about to have 3 bros in this household.
Correct.
Right. Okay. So, Justin, from like dad perspective, like what in the world, like what's going on at the end for you?
I mean, like really not much. I mean, Kelly is so organized, such a good mother, so well prepared. She just doesn't miss anything, right? So I'm literally just trying not to annoy her, trying not to get in her
Mhm.
way, making sure that, something easily doesn't annoy her, like stupid dishes being left or laundry, or just making sure all the stuff like that is ticked and tied around the house. Like, just trying to be helpful and not annoying is probably would be the best way I would describe it. I mean, she was so well prepared. She had everything taken care of. It was just, doing my part basically is what I would concentrate on. And of course, doing whatever to have for her discomfort. I mean, I think, honey, what like the last, I think month or two, I bathed Grayson because it was too uncomfortable for you to get down on the floor in the tub just stuff
Like my
like that.
belly I couldn't like reach over with my belly when it
Yeah,
was so
just
big.
whatever was like that I needed to pick up and do, I did.
Yeah.
That's really it, Heidi. She's got always got everything handled.
Yeah. So, Kelly, we're going to turn a corner and go into the labor and the delivery. But before we do that, for anyone who's listening who's carrying twins, what are some of your like best tips, tricks for surviving the pregnancy and things that their partners could do to help them that Justin did to help you?
Um, that's a good question. So I feel like the body work and the chiropractor helped tremendously. And I feel like for me in my pregnancies, like a body in motion stays in motion. Like I felt better when I was out, even just short, slow walks rather than just, sitting. It just that my body responded better to that. Um, but I do think, seek help if you're able to. I know that's a luxury, but I think if you're able to, or, online yoga classes, things like that, I think that definitely helped me stay like physically well to be able to carry the twins. Like the belts were helpful, like carry the weight at the end. That's another, and then pregnancy pillows, like all the things there. And then from Justin's perspective, I mean, he's really good about, I guess, making sure things were done. Like I didn't have to worry about like taking the garbage out, or I mean, I don't really do that stuff anymore. I mean, we take turns. We have our division of responsibilities, but just making sure that there's like picking up the slack, and he did a really good job doing that. So I would just communicate with your partner and let them know, hey, I need you to step up and take care of this, that, or whatever. And I'm sure they would oblige. But he was really good about just picking up the slack where needed, and I could kind of sit back and rest a little bit.
Well,
Awesome. That's great advice for marriage too.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
going back to the first podcast, Heidi. I feel like the instincts kick in. I mean, you see your wife, carrying
Modeling.
two babies at one time. You're like, no, don't you dare pick that up. Don't you know I got that? Go lay down. Realize that's kind of really what it was for me.
Yeah, so like protective mode, like you're already
Oh,
like,
yes.
like daddy bear around like these babies and your
Oh,
wife.
100%.
That makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense to me. We feel that in the room too. Like a lot of times as the doulas, it's like I don't want to mess with that energy, It's like I'm just here to help and facilitate the plays, but like you tell me where to go, Justin, a lot of times,
Yeah.
Um all right, well, let's dig into the birth of the twins. So, how did you know that you were in labor, Kelly?
Surprise, my water broke again. I was 35 weeks and 4 days. And I really didn't, I didn't feel any, the first time around, I kind of knew something was happening. We had my mom come in a couple days, like 3 days prior. I was like, I want you here by 35. That was just like in my mind, like a cutoff. Like I need you here to make sure we have help for our younger one in case something happens in the middle of the night. And then lo and behold, 35 and 4, I felt a small pop out of nowhere. I wasn't sleeping much at that point. It's like so hard to get uncomfortable. But I think it was about maybe 2 o'clock in the morning, a small pop. And then unlike the first time, just a little trickle. But in my mind, I immediately knew. I'm like, way different than the first time, night and day. This was just a small trickle. But then I knew something was happening. My water just broke. Um, Called the doctor's office. And of course, they advised us to go in. And at that point, I was like continuously losing fluid. And with twins, we basically, at 35 weeks, 2 babies, we said, we just need to go in. And I know you and I had talked about that. We weren't going to really labor at home as much just because of the twins. So we knew at that point we were going in. Yeah.
Well, first of all, you're preterm, premature rupture of the membranes. So we're before 37 weeks and our water is broken as our first sign. So it's PPROM. So we've got pre-prom. We knew if it was PPROM, we were going straight in. We knew if there was meconium, we were going straight in. And we kind of knew like if you were feeling labor at all, we were going straight in. Like with your history of precipitous, like we were just going to be where we needed to be there. Now, I remember it was in the middle of the night, early morning when this happened.
Yes.
Okay. Yep. So you guys got there, you got all settled. And it was just baby A's water was broken only?
Partially broken. Yep. And they actually had to do like 2 or 3 tests to confirm that it was actually amniotic fluid. It took several tests for them to even confirm that because it had just like torn, I guess, like partially. But we went to the hospital at 4. I think we checked in like 4:30ish in the morning.
Yeah. Okay. You guys are angels because you didn't call me until like 7 in the morning or something. Like I slept all the way through the night and then you were like, hey, we're at the hospital. Like, I don't even remember. I was like, oh, okay. Like, yay, we're doing this today. But I remember appreciating the sleep as a mother of 2, So let's talk about so let's get into it. So then what happens?
So at 4:30, I went back and looked at the notes because I couldn't remember. I was at 1 centimeter, station -3 and 75% of phase. I think that was something like that. I think I got the times right. But so we ended up leaving triage about 7:30. We called you at 7. And we basically, the doctor on call had started talking before we left triage about what we can do to speed labor up. And I said, nope, let's just go ahead and table these conversations. I'm going to wait till my doula gets here. I'm going to wait until we're in a room. I appreciate it, but thanks, but no thanks. And we also asked about what midwives were on call because my practice we hadn't really finished the conversation because we thought we had a few more weeks, but I had basically kind of requested a midwife do the delivery, which typically in this practice they don't allow because of twins. But I was healthy, there was no complications, and they were open to it. So we kind of got lucky that the stars kind of aligned. But there was a midwife on call from the practice as well. So she was notified, and then we got to our room, I think like 7:30ish, and said, let's just reevaluate in a few hours. So I think around 9ish is when the midwife came in, and then we reevaluated where things were.
Yeah. And I remember I was like, well, I've got a plan. Like we have all these things we can do to get your labor going that you were pretty amenable to. Okay. So what was that conversation like with the midwife? How did you feel?
Yeah. I mean, I felt great. She was 100% on board with us doing what we wanted to and allowing us to like try the pump. And we did get in the bathtub, which we were told we're not allowed. But we did break the rules a little bit there. But she basically said, I'll give you more time. If you want more time, I'll give it to you. And so I think after that point, we decided she came back around like 11:30ish. I think it was like 9, like 11. And then at 12 o'clock, we did, I remember what she called an aggressive membrane sweep. And so in between that time, though, you had me in different positions. We were doing rebozo, is that what it's called? And had some like oils and things like that to maybe potentially speed things up. And they were progressing, but it just wasn't, I mean, it was progressing for sure, but it wasn't going super fast. And we knew we were somewhat on a time clock because of the pressure that we were getting from the doctor on call.
Yeah. Well, but go ahead, Justin.
Didn't we kind of get in trouble or our hand slapped for getting in the bath? Wasn't the doctor wasn't too happy with us, if I remember correctly, right?
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Like your vagina's not a vacuum. I think I said that. I'm like, it's not a vacuum. It's not sucking up water into like baby A. Like, I just can't even, you know what I mean? Who's making that laughter sound? That's crazy.
I don't know. I heard it too.
I was like, wait, how big is this audience with this laughter sound? This is amazing, you know? But I mean, really, yeah, we got in trouble. Basically, they were like, don't get in the bathtub. And if you have a good doula, you'll get in the bathtub anyway. That's how I feel about that, because water is not harmful to babies or embryos. Like,
and
that's not a
it
thing.
really helped out Kelly too. I remember she got a lot more comfortable and it progressed things. It was the right thing to do by far.
Yeah, it was absolutely. So things were not going as quickly as they did with Grayson. Like, you were not having a precipitous labor, but things started to progress. Like, I distinctly remember every hour was different than the hour before. Like, okay, got here at 7, or 8 was different than 7, 9 was different than 8, 12 was different than 11. Like, it was slowly building like labor does.
It was. And it's funny, I remember because like 2 days before we had our last like prenatal discussion, and I remember saying, you're like, what do you want out of this birth? And I'm like, I don't want it to be frantic. Like, I want it to be calm and serene. And because the last one was so frantic. And I remember sitting in the hospital room being like, okay, what is going on? Can we speed this up? And you're like, Kelly, wait a minute. You asked for like a less frantic birth. And I was like, you're right. I need to sit back and like enjoy this as much as you can. But it was funny. But yeah, each hour was different, but it was much slower than the last time.
Yeah. So we did a lot of squats.
Yep.
I remember, because you were in shape and you had kept your body up, and I was like, this is going to really help. So we did a lot of squats and a lot of hip squeezes and a lot of movement. Is there anything that you feel like there was like, I was doing this thing and it really helped turn a corner? Like, when do you remember going, shit, this is real? Oh God, it's happening. I'm in active labor.
Well, so I think I will say this, baby B, there were some things that you were doing that I was like, what in the world is she doing? But for baby A, there was nothing. I think it was just like a more of a steady progression. And so I think around like an hour or two after the membrane sweep, they did rupture the bag, my baby A's water.
Fully ruptured
it. And then things picked up. And I think like an hour and a half later, he was born. He was born at 2:54, and I think they ruptured the bag at 1:30. So there was nothing with baby A. Baby B is a different story, but nothing with baby A that I felt like it was just like a steady progression. All the things we were doing helped, and it was moving me towards the end goal. But there was like not one thing in particular that I feel like skyrocketed the
reason that the water breaking skyrocketed is because you said we're -3 station. You know, like baby A was still very high. And when you break the water, like fully, it's already broken. So when you fully rupture it, it allows the head to come down and put pressure on the cervix so that it opens. Now, they told us we have to deliver baby A in the OR. But if everything goes okay, we can move back to the labor room for baby B. Great. I was like, I'm taking this very serious to the highest level of advocacy. I'm like, they say it, it's happening. So do you remember, like, were you scared at all when they were like, we need to head to the OR?
I mean, it was definitely intimidating because, I mean, again, just so different than the first time around. I remember feeling, and at that point I was just, I mean, I was in a lot of pain, obviously without any type of epidural or any kind of intervention. It was just, it was a little intimidating because they wheel you in, and you know, everybody has to put on the outfits and the hair, the net, the head things, and you go in and there's, you know, I'm sitting there contracting and I see all these people and lights, and it's just a very different environment. So I don't know if I was scared, but I was kind of like intimidated and a little bit anxious. I just was like unsure.
It was a little kind of WTF when you walked in, because there's literally 38 people in that room. Like, what are all y'all doing here? You know, like, come on. At least I feel like that was kind of the reaction we had, because there was literally 11, 12 people in that room when we got in there.
Yeah. I remember thinking that too. Like, we're just having a baby.
Yeah.
Like, they've got everyone assembled. They've got the whole like just in case assembled, you know, and which is great. I mean, that's why we're birthing in a hospital, but it's a very small operating room. I mean, it's not like a big operating room. And so we all kind of smushed in there. I was thankful as a doula. Doulas are not guaranteed to be in operating rooms across the country in the United States, but with good advocacy from the parents requesting that they don't want their doula to leave their side, I was able to be in there with you, and thank goodness.
Yeah, yeah. I was gonna say that. I was gonna bring that up, that I feel like, and it was so funny the whole day, and our midwife was awesome. We were like, okay, this is what's happening. She was like, okay, let me check with the powers that be. And we were like, okay, yeah, this is what we're gonna do. And we told her, you're coming in, and she's like, I have no problem with that. Let me just check. So I feel like going in there with that, knowing you kind of have to just own it and be your own advocate and have that, I think it helped the way we approached things.
Yeah. And you approach things like, I'm not sick. I'm not a patient. I'm a client, and I'm about to pay you a lot of money. So you better get those ears open and listen. I really loved that, the confidence that you guys both brought to that birth and to that OR. So we get into the OR. It is go time. There is an OB in there to oversee, but the midwife was able to come to help for delivery. And you didn't push for very long.
Yeah, the first one, I don't think it was
the first time.
I hadn't. Yeah, the first time. Yeah, the first. It was pretty fast. I mean, the contractions were hard. I was in pain. I was like, let's do this. Let's go. I want to be done with this. But you get in that zone, and you're just like, you just kind of black out. But yeah, I didn't push. I don't even know how many times I pushed, actually.
I don't know, but I just remember, I don't remember if it was right before or right after, but I remember being in the OR and being like, she has to get off of her back. Was that before you delivered or after, baby
after.
After. Okay.
That was after. Yeah.
Okay. How did you deliver baby A?
Baby A, I was on my back.
Okay.
And I think, I had been moving every minute in the labor and delivery room, but I was like ready to push by the time they wheeled us in. And so I think I just stayed on my back and pushed. Yeah.
And just pushed with all your might. Okay. Yep. So baby A is born, and who was that?
That's Hayden. He was born.
That one's Hayden.
Yeah. Hayden, 254, 5 pounds, 5 ounces. And he was great. No, we didn't obviously have to go to the NICU or anything. So
that's crazy too, that you have a 5 pound, 5 ounce baby at 35 weeks. Gestation. I mean, that's a big old healthy boy,
Yeah.
Okay. So now I remember this whole thing going on with like the we wanted delayed cord clamping, but it's like, that's an interesting kind of thing when you're waiting on baby B, and then they're assuming, everyone in the room, including me, everyone is assuming that you're going to push baby A out. We're going to confirm baby B is head down, and baby B is going to come out. Justin, is that what you thought was going to happen?
Yeah, I thought after Hayden came out, I was like, another easy one, no problem. We'll be done with this in 10 minutes.
I kind of felt the same way. I was like,
me too.
Go Kelly, Kelly. This is awesome. Like, you're this amazing birther, and here comes B. So they take Hayden, and then they bring Hayden back to you. And I have this video, and God help me, I hope you share it someday on the Birth Story Podcast Instagram, because it is like my favorite birth video of 17 years. You are in the operating room. You've just delivered Hayden, and he's nursing at your breast, and you're still having labor contractions, and now they're asking you to push baby B out. And I'm watching this video I'm watching it in real life. But I've since seen the video 100 times more than I've seen, experiencing this in real life. There's no words. Like, there's this, you're seeing a woman in her full power, more than I normally see a woman in her full power with one baby. Like, you have just birthed a baby. You are nursing a baby at your breast, quietly soothing and cooing and comforting this baby. And then the next contraction hits, and you are pushing with all your might. I mean, I've never seen anything like it. I couldn't. Justin, how do you feel about that moment?
I mean, it's you marry your wife, and you don't think you can ever love her any more than you do at that point. And then just like life happens and you see her do things and see what she can accomplish. And moments like that, I mean, I don't want to jump ahead. I'm going to have to run here in a minute. Like what she did inside of 3 hours. Like, it's like, damn, like unbelievable.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
I don't know if there's words in the English language like to really describe the feeling, Heidi. I don't know.
I don't know either, because I experienced something that day, like, or witnessed and experienced something about the power of a woman in the human body that, like, I don't get to see every day.
Right.
And regular childbirth is astounding, you know? So I don't know, but I do remember. So Justin just alluded to the next 3 hours. It would be 3 hours until baby B was born. So basically we started over, but there's a lot that I want our audience to hear about advocacy and movement and why it was so imperative you didn't have that epidural, Kelly. I mean, and how a successful vaginal birth occurred 3 hours later, but it's pretty rare to birth that your twins 3+ hours apart, you know? So at some point,
I'm sorry, Heidi, go ahead.
Oh no, go, Justin. I want some water.
I was going to say, I tell anybody that will listen that my wife has had 3 natural births, 2 out of the 3 of which were twins, and I love seeing people's faces because like your wife did what? I'm like, yeah, that's my wife.
Yeah, don't mess with her, man. She will burn you.
Remember that, Justin.
She will burn you to the ground with a fire. Okay, so my recollection. Oh, go ahead. I feel Justin,
like I'm going to miss the best part. I've got some serious FOMO over here right now because I really want to hear the rest, but I'll listen to it later.
Yeah. Well, we love you and you were there in real life. So
yes, you got it firsthand.
So you know the story. All right, Justin,
honey,
drop off.
Honey, I love you. Heidi, I love you too. Thank you again for that day. You will never be forgotten.
Oh my gosh, you're welcome. Well, we're going to dig into the last 3 hours of twin vaginal childbirth now.
I can't wait to listen to it. I can't wait to listen to it later. Take care. Thanks, guys.
Thanks. Bye, Justin. So, Kelly, we just left off. You're laying there. You're nursing Hayden. The pressure waves, the contractions, they're coming. And they're like, I remember everyone, including me, were like, push.
Yeah. I was like, okay.
And we probably did that. I mean, I look back and I think we did that for too long. We probably did that for 45 minutes.
I honestly don't even remember how long it was. I just remember people telling me to push, and I was in such a weird daze, like again, like nursing Hayden and like still contracting, that I was like, okay, I mean, because I never in my mind thought, my biggest fear was a breech extraction. My biggest fear was baby B would flip and they'd have to extract. I just never in a million years thought babies could come that far apart and that I would be doing this all over. But he was at a station 0. I went back to look at the notes, and we were pushing and pushing. And I think we just realized, like, he's not coming. Like, this baby's not coming right now.
He's just not ready. You know, a 0 station is still very high. Your cervix is clearly complete. I mean, it was already open. Hayden is open. But having baby B then, whose water was still intact, tuck their chin, push their shoulders in, engage your pelvis. I mean, sometimes that's their own unique journey, as it was with baby B, whose name is Hudson. Okay. Mm-hmm. So this goes on for far too long. As your doula, I will go back and tell you, I wish I would have intervened a little bit sooner, but like, I think we all thought like the next push is like the push, you know, where that water, baby B's water is going to break or whatever. Now, mind you, the umbilical cord for baby A is hanging out of you. So they've cut the cord, but this is like, I want people to know with twins, like what's going on here with die. So at the end, the placentas will actually fuse. So even die, the placentas, which it kind of ends up looking like 2 hearts, right? Or a peanut or something, but they end up fusing. But so the umbilical cord, the placenta and the umbilical cord for baby A are still up there attached to baby B. Okay. So we've got this umbilical cord hanging out. Kelly's trying to nurse. The next contraction's happening. You're on your right side, and we're making her, we're coach pushing you. We're making you push. Okay. But I think at some point we said, actually, doctor, who I love,
Mhm.
said, "Do you
Yeah.
feel the urge to push?"
Yes, I remember that. And I said no.
Said, "No, I'm only pushing because you guys are making me push." And then, like, as your doula, my heart's breaking in half. And I'm like, "Okay, great. Then get off of," I said, "Get flip over. Like, get
Yeah,
on your hands and knees. Like, somebody
which
take
we
this
did.
baby." So
Mhm.
Justin takes Hayden. I'm like, "We got to get Hayden out of the way." And I'm like, "Get over here on your hands and knees." And maybe about 10 minutes we do that. And then I start saying, "Can we get out of here? Why are
Yep.
we in the OR? Why are we in the OR? Goodbye, OR." I mean, I think I said it over and over again. And everyone was really like nervous to leave the OR. It surprised
Mhm.
me. I wouldn't say there was like pushback, like, "No, we're not going to leave the OR, Heidi." That wasn't happening. It was more like, I got the feeling that they've never actually left
Yeah.
the OR. Did you get that
That's
feeling?
yes, 100%. And Justin and I talk about it all the time. It's like you took command. Like, and again, it goes back to that advocacy. It wasn't like, can we leave the OR now? I don't think this baby. It was like, we're gonna leave. We need to leave. She needs to go back to labor and delivery. She can't, this baby isn't gonna come out in here with these lights and these people. We need to go. And I don't, there was no pushback. You're right. It was more like, yeah, I believe, I think you're right. Like they just were like, this doesn't really happen before, but you took charge and were like, we're leaving. We're going to take her back.
Yeah.
And they were
Yeah,
like,
that
okay.
that was my whole feeling, as I just
Yeah.
thought like, this is really interesting, but it feels like what we're about to do, which they said we would do, they've never actually fucking done that before,
Right.
you know?
Exactly.
F word live on Fireside. Sorry, everyone. So so like Kelly said, I took charge. The
Mhm.
midwife, the doctor, everyone was on board. Everyone was on the
Yeah.
same page. I think someone just needed to say it out loud. Like,
Yes.
she needs the lights off. She needs a toilet to labor on. She needs to squat. She needs to walk. She needs all these 1,200 people away from her. And she needs, like, basically Hayden to know Hayden's okay, like with
Right.
Justin. So we
Yep.
leave. So we leave.
Mhm.
We're like, bye.
Wheel
And it was
wheels them
probably
out.
like an hour. I would guess we left the OR around 4 p.m., about an hour after delivery.
Yeah. Yep.
It
Probably.
was a long time in there. Okay. So then
Yeah.
I
I
loved
mean,
it.
it's crazy. I mean, it's such a blur, but it feels like it was just yesterday. But yeah, so we got back to the labor and delivery room, the same room we were in. It was such like a mental mind I won't say it because we're live on Fireside, but to see, like, I couldn't hold my baby. Like, I couldn't hold Hayden. Like, I saw him for, I don't know, 15 minutes, and then I had to give him to Justin. So I was sitting there, like, I remember leaning over the bed, contracting with an umbilical cord hanging out of me. And and was sitting there watching Justin with the baby, and I'm like, what is going on right now? Like, is this baby ever going to come? And I know you had me in all different kinds of positions, and I think there was at that one point you asked earlier, like, was there anything that you felt like was pushing things along? And whatever you were doing when I was on my side in the bed, I feel like every time you put me in a particular position, like a big surge would come. And every single time it was like one step closer to being ready to push, one step closer to being ready to push. And it was just, I just don't know how to even describe it. I never in a million years thought it would be that long. And I think at one point I looked at you and was like, I just need a C-section. Like, you just need to get this baby out of me. We're starting over from scratch. I just did this. I thought I was going to push a baby out, push another baby out and be done. I geared up mentally to do this and I did it. And now I have to do it again. Like, what is going on? But yeah, you and the nurse, the amazing nurse, were looking at me and being like, Kelly, you're so close. You can be like, we actually cannot physically do a C-section right now, but you're so close. And then, yeah, I think he was born at 5:18.
Yeah.
Hudson came. Yep.
So right now people are like, well, what did I do? What was that
Yeah.
thing? Okay. So we labored on the toilet. We labored on your hands and knees. We labored in the bed on your side. We just kept moving your body, but we did a mixture of knees in, calves out. So like kind of pushing your knees in towards you and then pulling your legs out wide. I was also pushing on your sacrum and trying to move your
Yeah.
tailbone out of the way, and then pushing on the other side of your pelvis to try to open the outlet of your pelvis to try to get him more engaged. And it's millimeters, right? Every
Right.
surge, if you can get a baby to tuck their chin and square their shoulders and all that kind of stuff. What I don't remember was, when did his water break, or did they AROM his water?
They broke it. Yeah. I
They
think
broke it.
not long after we got back, because I think things like, again, it feels like it was progressing quickly, but I don't know if it was, but they got checked a couple times, and then they broke his water, and then he came pretty, pretty
Soon
quickly after that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I remember you
So
saying too, like, Kelly, you've birthed, because we were in all these positions. And I think when I was ready to push, you were like, get on your back. That's how you birthed two babies. Like,
mhm.
this is what this is what you feel comfortable with. And I was like, you're right. And because I think I was still moving all the time, but yeah, I birthed him on my back. But I mean, being able to move my body and not, I mean, and again, this goes back to like, there's no way I could have done this without a doula or with an epidural. It would have been a very different outcome. Like the stars aligned for us for whatever reason.
Yeah. And I want people to hear this. This is really important. It's okay to birth on your back. It's not okay to push on your back for 3 hours.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it was great for Kelly for 3 hours to squat, walk, move, sway, lay, rest, all the things. And then she found her power for those last couple pushes on her back. That's okay for you to find your power, right? Because by that point, we've already opened the outlet. The head is coming, right? To get to that point, though, we need movement. Whether you have an epidural or not, we need movement.
Right.
Kelly, completely unmedicated, 3 hours in between the births of your sons. You go from having a precipitous birth, which is typically once you have a precipitous, all are precipitous, to then having an all day, basically a 12-hour labor for your twins, it completely night and day differences. I am so proud of you.
Thanks.
So we do delayed cord clamping.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You get all the things. The one giant placenta that is fused together comes out. That was the surprise for me, is I didn't realize they typically always fuse together.
Yeah, I didn't know that either. And I have a picture of you got a picture of it, and it's like ginormous. But I didn't know that either.
Because I was like waiting for like Hayden to be born and then Hayden's placenta to be born. Like, I don't know what I was remembering in my mind. I mean, I've had a lot of the placentas fused before, but I didn't realize. I remember the doctor saying, oh yeah, Heidi, they like almost always are fused. And I was like, oh, great. See, I learned something new on all the births. So if you're carrying twins, here we go. You'll probably end up with one big old placenta in the end. Did you do placenta encapsulation?
I did. Mm-hmm.
And then do they charge you more money when you have a big old 2 placentas versus one?
I think it was a little bit more. Yeah, I think it was. Okay. But I got like a ton of pills. Yeah.
I was going to say, because I feel like it's probably a ton more work in capsules because it's so much. Why did you do placenta encapsulation?
I did it with Grayson, and I felt like, I talked to my doctor about it, and they said, yeah, if that's something that you're interested in. I felt like for me, I was an overproducer milk for both children. So I don't know if it had anything to do with it, but it did help. Like, I feel like it helped stable my mood. Again, I don't know if there's no medical, I don't know how many research papers have been done about this. I felt like for me personally, it helped with mood and milk. So that's why I did it again.
Yeah. Placentas are really hard to study, right?
Yeah.
Because how do we really do a study? Every single placenta is completely different. Every single mom is completely different. Every baby is completely different. So how do we, like, this placenta and what it contains is going to be completely different than the next placenta and the next placenta. And so it's, research is one of those things that just remains anecdotal, right?
Right.
We have studied things like iron, like the consumption of placenta pills with iron. But I mean, it's really hard when you don't have placebo controlled the same placenta over and over again to do a good clinical trial. That's just it's never going to happen.
Right. Yeah. I feel like even if it was a placebo effect, like my mind, I was really lucky that I didn't have any, I think I had a little postpartum blues with the twins just because it was a really hard time with 2 newborns, but I think it was more situational. I don't just being stressed. Like with Grayson, I had like the perfect, happy, great postpartum experience. So I think I attributed it to the pill. So maybe it was placebo effect, but I was like, well, if it worked last time, I'm going to go ahead and do it again. So
yeah, I totally blame everything good on my placenta pill.
Yeah.
I was like, they're amazing. I had so much energy. All the things went perfect because of my placenta. You know, it's so good. Okay. Well, Kelly, thank you so much for sharing your birth story today live on Fireside and on the Birth Story podcast. Before we go, I ask all of the guests to share what is your favorite baby product or mommy product, especially with twins. So if someone's pregnant right now, they're finding out. We have 3 sets of twins in the My Doula Heidi and Doula Differently birth community for 2022. So we're really excited for our 3 upcoming twin births. So what do they need to add to their registry?
Oh gosh, for twin births, there were 3 things that saved us. The Twinsy pillow, the table for 2 was critical. And we still used that, and we don't use it anymore, but we used it up until almost a year. And then and I don't know the name of them. I ordered them from like a UK site, but they are bottle. You put it's like a scrunchie with like a little pillow. And it's it holds the bottle for them. So when I was like pumping, it would basically prop the bottles, which you're right there. So I know you're not supposed to do that, but they market them for twin moms and they were amazing. So I don't know the name of it, but I can send it to you.
Okay, yeah, let's find out. And I'll put a link to all of Kelly's favorite go-to baby products in the show notes. So Kelly, we actually had an audience on Fireside today, which is amazing as this app is growing. And so thank you to everyone who joined and listened today. And Kelly, this will broadcast out onto all the podcast players probably in a couple of weeks too. So thank you for being on and for everybody listening. And I hope you'll share about Fireside, download the app, and join me each week as I interview everyone live about their birth stories. And that was really fun that we got to pop Justin on as a speaker too.
Yeah. Thanks, Heidi. I appreciate everything. This was fun, and you're amazing. We love you. So
I love you. Well, thank you for choosing me and for sharing your story here as well for other moms. We'll talk to you soon. Happy holidays.
All right. Thanks. You too.
I hope that you enjoyed this week's episode. And before you go, I would love to see you in class at Birth Story Academy. As a reminder, you can use code Birth Story Podcast to get the course for $98 between now, whenever you're listening, and February 1st. Pre-sales and that discount ends, price doubles. So hope to see you in class. Thank you for listening to Birth Story. My goal is you will walk away from each episode with a clear picture of how labor and delivery might go, and that you will feel empowered by the end of your pregnancy